Good morning, parents and teachers. What's up? I'm going to talk about in this video pivots and energy. Pivots and energy. So, this time, as we're going through this pandemic, meanwhile, I hope you're healthy. I hope you're safe. My name is Seth Perler. I'm an executive function coach in Colorado. I help struggling students navigate this thing called education so they can have a great life. And in this case, I'm going to talk about pivots and energy. Pivots and energy. We are all pivoting right now. Teachers have to pivot a lot, parents have to pivot a lot, and students have to pivot a lot. The whole world has to pivot a lot right now. It's a really crazy time. It's a really scary time. But the better we can make these pivots, the better we will be, the better our kids will be, the better things will be when this is all over and we start coming out of this. We'll be coming out of this in a more community-based way where people know we're on the same team, helping each other, supporting each other. And there's going to be lots of good that comes out of this time, even though there's a lot of tragedy, and I don't downplay that at all. There's going to be a lot of good that comes out of this once we get on the other side of it. But at this point, what we do now and how we pivot will impact where we go then. What we do now will impact where we go then. So we are planting seeds now. And with our kids and helping raise our kids and wanting our kids to have a good life and a good future, this is a really important time to be very aware of certain things as we go through these pivots. So this video is about pivoting and energy. As we pivot, where does our energy go? So there's someone named Marlo who's a 2E specialist who I love her work and her messages. And one of the things she talks about is this circle that I'm going to show you in a moment and where our energy goes. So basically, here's how it goes. You got a circle. And you got this circle, and this circle represents your energy. And what happens is that in any given day, you have, let's say, about 100 points of energy. So you have 100 points of energy. But by the end of the day, you have no more energy and you're down to 0 points of energy. And that's not a bad thing at all. It just means we need to replenish our energy. How do we replenish our energy? Well, ideally, we have a good night's sleep. We replenish our energy. We have a restful night's sleep where we are replenished and we have 100 points of energy the next day. But there's a problem. And the problem is when our energy goes into our reserves. For you teachers, for you parents, and for your children, the problem is when it goes into the reserves. Maybe we spent 110 points on our energy today. Maybe we spent 200 points on our energy today. Think about the nurses and doctors and all the medical professionals that are trying to navigate this time right now and how exhausted they are and how they are so depleted and they're in their reserves and how much that is impacting them. So what you want to know, parents and teachers, is where does this energy go and how can this video that Seth's making help me actually in some meaningful way? And that's what I'm about to tell you right now. How can this help you in a meaningful way? So what Marlo talks about, and I told her that I stole this from her. I've used it many times in presentations, and she said she stole it from someone else. And it's just such a great model for parents and teachers to really understand. It's a very empowering model for you. But basically, here's what happens is we have these 100 points of energy, and they go into 4 areas. What are those 4 areas, and how do they matter, and how do they apply right now? Well, first, what are the 4 areas? So the 4 areas are social, emotional, cognitive, and physical. 4 main areas: social, emotional, cognitive, and physical. And in any given day, we have this pie filled with 100 points of energy, and our energy goes into these 4 places. But sometimes, there are some things that contribute to our energy, and there are some things that deplete our energy. And I'm going to explain those right now and how they impact you right now. Because the better we understand what the impact of this, the better we will be able to serve our children. Whether you're a parent or a teacher, the more we think about where their energy is going and how their energy is being depleted right now and what is causing them to go into reserves when we may not intend it or we may not even see it, the more we understand that, the better we will be able to serve these kids and help them have a better life. So, social, emotional, cognitive, and physical, but it can be added to or depleted. But ultimately, throughout the day, the 100 points get depleted. So here's how I want you to look at it. It's almost like what's happening with the stock market, right? It's very volatile. And what that means is that sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. So within one day, things can be up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. If you ever look at a stock chart, it's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And by the end of the day, though, we're going to be down to 0. And overnight, we're going to get energized, and we're going to refill our batteries so that we get up to 100 the next day. So what does that mean with a plus and minus in terms of social? So social has to do with relationships, has to do with connection. So if I have an argument with somebody, that is going to deplete me socially quite a bit. If I have an amazing experience with somebody, a fantastic conversation, laughter, that's going to increase, that's going to energize me. But ultimately, we're going down throughout the day. You know, both of them cost points, right? But some things are more energizing and some things are more depleting than others. So socially, that would be your relationship with yourself. Is your relationship with yourself in any given moment adding or subtracting from your daily energy? You know, if we're hard on ourselves and we're perfectionistic and we're beating ourselves up when the inner critic is really loud on a day like that, our relationship with ourselves is going to be quite depleting. And if we are having a really positive day, you know, if we feel real good about things, good stuff, whatever, we might be having a day that is more on the positive side. It's still going to be using energy in either way, but this one is clearly using a lot more. The negative day is clearly using a lot more of our social energy and tapping into it more quickly. Social relationships has to do with the relationship with yourself, your relationship with your friends, your family, your coworkers, the people around you, your community, your world. And it might be your pet. So what things in your social connections or your relationships are adding to or depleting from your energy? And then think about this with the kids you work with if you're a teacher, and for parents with your kids, what is depleting their social energy and what is adding to it? Emotionally, obviously we use emotions all day long. So with using emotions all day long, where are they going? Are we being depleted emotionally? Are we making mountains out of molehills, and things that aren't that big seem really big and we're panicking, and that's really depleting our emotional energy? Are we not taking things seriously enough and it's not depleting our emotional energy, but there's a cost later? Like, how can we look at where our emotions are at? And then we have cognitive, mental, executive function, using the brain, thinking, learning, processing. Are we engaging our minds in a way that's bringing us up? Are we having engagement that's exciting to us, that's interesting, that's meaningful, that's purposeful to our mental life, our mind, our cognitive mind? Are we reading things that are interesting? Are we growing? And then what is depleting us? What is just like busy work? What is thinking too much? What is not contributing? And then obviously physically. Are we being sedentary all day long? Which, while that might seem like, if you're sick, that's definitely a great thing to do. But on a typical day, being sedentary all day long, that's really depleting. That's really taking too much in the long run from our physical well-being. Are we getting in some good exercise? Are we in physical pain? Are we sick? So what's going on physically with us? What about sleep, as I mentioned before? What about nutrition? What about exercise? It's generally, I talk about it, sleep, nutrition, exercise, and self-care are the 4 areas that I look at in terms of physical. Anyhow, when we really look at these 4 areas, and this is where you might jot them down, you might do a little assessment, take a piece of paper and write out for your kids. If you're a teacher, you can take a piece of paper and make 4 areas. Oh, meanwhile, before I get to that, so this makes it seem like there's 25% for each one. That's not how it is. Maybe, don't think of it like that. Think of it, maybe you spent 30 points on social, maybe you spent 30 points on emotional, maybe you spent 20 points on cognitive, but maybe you ran a marathon that day and you spent 80 points on physical. Anyhow, don't think of it 25. Think of it in terms of what is where, you know what I'm trying to say. My brain just, making this video, have been going for 9 minutes, and my brain just took a little break. So what you can do, parents and teachers, is make a chart like this, and then you can have a ledger in each chart. So maybe this is the physical, mental, emotional, and cognitive on your chart, and maybe this is the plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, And you can just look at your kids. If you're a teacher, you can look at the group of kids or an individual kid. And parents, you can look at your children individually or as a family or whatever and see what is contributing and energizing and positive and nourishing and nurturing in any one of the four areas, and what is more depleting than it needs to be, and what changes can happen. So hopefully this will help you to have a better way of figuring out how we are entering this whole period. As I said, we're in this for the long haul. We're in this together. But the more consciously, with the more self-awareness, the better we navigate this time, the better we are going to be able to serve and empower our kids in the now and in their future, quite literally. My name is Seth Perler. Please support what I do. Please share it with somebody if this helps you. I put a lot into what I do. Please just share it with somebody that it might help. I hope you have a great day. You're healthy, you're happy, you have some peace of mind, and you're safe. Take care.